took a look around.
Dad made grilled cheeses for everybody. There's Shirley and Ethel. Not you, Grandma, don't worry.
Where's Saralee?
Grandma, I'm not even taking you. I don't care.
When you say that, I open it up.
Look where the camera's pointed.
Oh no, your camera's here.
Sad to say, what I see is a leadership that offers the Palestinians.
Shoes, say hi to the camera. Say hi to the camera, Shoes. Hi.
Say hi.
What do you want to see? Water?
What'd she say?
The water in the pool? What water? Oh, you want to see the picture?
Turn it around so she can see the picture.
Watch, look, we'll show you Mom and Dad. Oh, that's us.
It's you.
Look, that's us right now. Hello.
They've been using ambulances.
Amberly, wave.
Say hi, Mommy. Amberly, say hello.
If you do something, you can see yourself move.
That's
Oh, she's freaked out.
What is that?
Look, Mommy, it's you. Live.
Is it in the right frame?
Yeah. You want to see Ethel? In what? On what?
Oh, yeah, let's do Gigi stop. Careful.
Bravo, Alan Dees.
Let me see you do that again.
Yes, I did. Guess what? Normal legalization thing.
And now?
He's using his face on ads all over New York. It says this, look.
I use that and I like
I use it and I love it. And they're putting 36 feet by 39 feet. It's about as big as this whole apartment.
And it's hot, Bill. What about Brian? It's not hot.
Orly.
Wally, Todd Keon and Brian are probably going to be put somewhere else.
Say hello to Amberly.
Look at the camera. Look at Evie.
Well, they may put us all in the same room.
You want to see Amberly?
Look, that's us. Can you taste that for a minute?
Jumped up on the chair. What are you doing?
It's as long as this apartment.
Oh my goodness.
Here to the wall over there.
All right, you walk.
And a little wider than this room.
All right, you know what I mean? You got Coke? So you didn't even eat anything. I thought it was Sitowitz when I first.
You know the height to get on the level.
No.
Here's Aunt Saralee.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He's got it all down. I wish we could sit and watch it.
Come here, sit down.
He does.
Remember this?
He needs to learn.
You know what she just did?
It was hard for me when she died.
Well, I can't help it. Somebody's hot and somebody's cold.
The whole house is hot. We have so many lights on. It's ridiculous. That's why it's hot in here.
But I can't help it.
I know. Gonna have a big bill.
You can have my back.
I know, that's why I did that, Grandma.
Isn't it dark there?
I don't know.
What are you going to do? All right, so now that Orly's videoing.
I did.
I'm just taking them. Everybody's
Now that
here.
Orly's videoing, will you tell
How's that
us
one doing?
about Israel and show the videotape? Tell us about Los Angeles. But we all know about that. You're a career visit. So then we can know, do you need more light in the room? What do we want to know?
I
I don't
think
know.
we're
Just
okay.
about the family and
But
things
thank you.
going on. And
Hold it, let's hear about it then.
are you going to go that way?
I don't know what are you doing.
Amberly's drawing.
Oh, yeah, Mama, there it is.
That's yours.
If I were you, I would take this child and try to put her to sleep.
Kara?
She's very cranky.
She's very sleepy.
Okay. Let's go in the other room. Let's go.
And he'll get it shut off.
Quiet. Let's be quiet. She's talking about Israel, what's going on in the country, what's going on with the family.
I'm talking that I don't know that I want to right now. Because his wife unfortunately can't go to the doctor without fear of being shot.
It has to do something with their resets thing.
Where are you
That's
going?
what our lives are about, and that's the way they've been. And they come for the weekend, and don't go back Saturday night, because maybe if you go back Saturday night, you have more of a chance of being shot than if you go back on Sunday morning. But people have done that and also got shot Sunday morning. And
Jesse,
you go to work and you don't know if you're coming home. And that's the way our lives have been.
Oh, give this chair.
And Noam has been at 8 funerals in the last 4 weeks, including yesterday. His friend Yesterday, one of the soldiers from Sitowitz, his brother is a friend of Noam's. And,
As long as I can hear.
and in spite of it all, and through it all, I could tell you that we're not sorry that we're there. We're not sorry for a minute that we're there.
We meaning the family?
I think that everybody in the family, I can't speak for everybody in the country, we're frustrated, we're angry, we're fearful, but we're not depressed and we're not despondent, and we know that we have to persevere. It's like when you have a family member who's sick, you just hope to get through it, and you hope to get through it as well as you can, and if you have to go through pain, you go through pain, and you hope that there'll be a better future, because you don't have too much option. It's either that or nothing. It doesn't seem to be that there's a compromise possible. It's either you commit suicide, you let them kill you, or you fight back. We don't see any options. And that's, right now, we're fighting back, and it's very hard for us too. We're all everybody has somebody. Usually more than one.
You see, well,
And that's what our lives are, and our lives are consumed with it. We wake up in the morning, and we go to sleep at night, and we turn on the news every half hour, hoping that there'll be no news, and too often there is. And it's a small country, and it's always somebody you know or somebody close to you. And every time you hear a horror happens, you think nothing worse can happen. When the Kahana couple got murdered, 7 children lost both their parents at once. And then when the Sitowitz family was blown up, 5 people in the family was blown up, you thought nothing worse than that could happen. And then when, after the sale, when somebody broke into the living room of Noam's friend and murdered his father, mother, brother, and grandfather, and the kids were holed up on the 2nd floor, you thought that nothing worse than that could happen. And what were they doing? They were just having a family get-together, just like this. They all came for the Seder, and they were all just cleaning up and walking around the house, and that's what it's about. And now we're trying to fight back and protect ourselves, and some people aren't letting us. It's not because we want to, it's because we have been forced into it. It's either that or let them kill us. This continues, there's no let up. And that's what our lives are about, that's what we're consumed with, that's why it's hard to even be here. And that's why if 13 soldiers were blown up yesterday, it's by the grace of God that my son wasn't there, because he was just somewhere else. And if Ziv's best friend was shot going home from Yerushalayim back to his yeshiva, where Ziv travels regularly, it's by the grace of God that it wasn't my son, and that my son was just attending the funeral and not being buried at the funeral. They're good people. They don't have a mean bone in their body. They don't want to. The fights in my family this past week over Pesach has been because Shlomo hasn't fired the Palestinian who works for him. And it's a struggle. And he knows that he's risking, because too many Palestinians who have worked for people have murdered. And it's happened in a number of places. And we don't want to fire Ahmed. We like him. But we know that it's a risk because he has children, and if somebody, because it's a very brutal society that they live in, says, we'll do something to your family if, we don't know what could happen. And, so the kids say, why are you keeping him? And Shlomo says, and the kids understand it, and we have a struggle, and this is the everyday struggle that we live with.
Is he an Israeli Arab or a Palestinian?
No, he's a Palestinian
From the
Arab.
territory?
He has a permit, he comes with a permit. And he's an older, he's a middle-aged man, and he's got a family, and he didn't do anything bad to us, and he works well. We don't want to, but we might have to. Because if another Palestinian with a permit kills another person they work for, we can't risk the people other people who work for us. So it's a day-to-day struggle. You get up, Sharmel gets up in the morning and says, today, do I have the fortitude, the koach to drive to work in Jerusalem, or shall I take the bulletproof bus, which goes through every town, and she gets to work nauseous, and then she doesn't know if she can come home because the tunnel road might have been closed. And if she goes to work by car, you say, well, they'll close the tunnel road if there's something happens. But if something happens, the first person got shot already. And this is a 20-minute ride from her house. So she goes to work and doesn't know if she can come back. Or she has to take the road, Beit Shemesh, which is an hour and a half, and she doesn't drive there. And every day you make these chishuvim, you make these accounts. Should I or shouldn't I? If I talk to, Nina calls me up when she's driving, so I try to keep her on the phone. And what's this? And I'll schmooze on the phone. Because I'd rather be talking to her where she lives. Over the hill from Carnation Road, and they saw the explosion, and her son his teacher was murdered, and his friend's mother was murdered, and his friend's two little boys were murdered a year ago, blown up by a Palestinian at the gas station where they wait for the bus. And these children, and Ariel, where they go to the doctor, and it just, that's what life is. Michael calls up the girls and says, "What are you doing?" They say, "We're watching television." We're watching an explosion. You can't protect them from it. You try to explain it to them. You try to tell them that we're gonna, at least, today's Yom HaShoah. At least we can fight for ourselves. We hope, we want to. We would like the backing of the people, of our friends. If not, we'll have to fight it out ourselves. And if they force us, they should full well know that if we have to stop this fight in the middle, we're gonna pay the price. Because I don't think anybody thinks they're going to stop if they have the possibility to continue to murder us, unfortunately.
I think
That's
we
what
gotta keep
Israel
everything in
is like
perspective.
today.
Every war that we in this room have known about has always been over there. In Israel, the war is not over there, it's right here. And it makes it a whole different perspective if you just think about it.
I didn't bring it with me. They sent a flyer around to, that we have, like a local newspaper, like you get in Beth Jacob, every week.
No, it was in the Jerusalem Post.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I didn't show you this one. So we got a weekly flyer from the guy who's in charge of defense in the yeshuv. So what it's like 4 pictures, like what to do if somebody shoots at you, what to do in different situations, if a terrorist comes into the yeshuv, if you're in a closed space and somebody is shooting. And this is what you get in your weekly newsletter, because this is what's happening.
Protection.
But we're not going to run away. We're not going to run away. We're going to try to persevere. We're going to try to hope that somebody can convince them that this is not the way to, and I want to tell you something. Just as much victims as we are, I think the Palestinian people are. They never had it so good as when they lived with us, and they never will again. And the difference between the way they were able to live with us, even as non-citizens, had so many more privileges and rights and protections and benefits than they could ever dream of under any Arab regime that we know of today, let alone the mafionaire evil of what's going on in the Palestinian Authority, which is no surprise to anybody who looks at their history. I don't know what their future is going to be, but it can't be. We're not going to just let it lay down and let it be over our dead bodies. And that's what it's about today, and I can't wait to get home. And through it all, we have a wedding, and we go to a wedding, and we're happy. And then we go to a funeral, and then we go to a wedding, and we try to enjoy our simchas. And if simcha happens, we start calling each other up and say, we have to tell you the good news. And that's the way it's been for the last year and a half. And we hope we'll have better times. What can I say? That's it. That's it. Aryeh is in mortal danger. Oh, we're all in mortal danger. Maya buried. Maya's friend's father was killed in Netanya on Leila Seder. And it's just, everybody and it comes close to home. And it's by the grace of God. Whether it's you or not, it's only it's coincidental.
And here you didn't want to talk about it.
You just get me started. I say that's the elephant in the living room. You can't get past it. It's, but you do, you think you do until you turn on the news again, until you hear something again, until you have to go. So I say, okay, I don't like to drive to Nina so much now, because there's one stretch of road which is rather exposed. So what do I want to see the kids? So I should tell her to come to me. She travels anyway. See, they have to live their lives. You can't, I'll tell you not to go to Pico Robertson and you need some milk or you need to go to the doctor. So you brace yourself and you go, or else you stop living. And they have a life force and they just want to live and create and do good things. They're good people. Our families are good people. Most of us are good people. And probably some good people on the other side, but it's, when it comes to, it's either you or them. You have to protect your own, you have to save your life.
So how do you see it ending? How do you see?
How do I see it ending? I don't know. I don't know. At the moment, I know how I'd like to see it end, but that's besides. I don't know. All I know is that we're not going to go like sheep to slaughter. I don't think any of us are willing to do that. If they would stop slaughtering us, I imagine that we would probably be able to stop. I don't think that we have done anything beyond defend ourselves. And I don't think any normal human being or society could do any different. And I'm horrified that America doesn't think we should finish this fight. I don't understand it. I don't understand. It defies the logic. And I think frankly that aside from everything else, which is not why we're protecting ourselves, I think the free world has a lot to lose if they don't let us conquer this small battle with terrorism. But that's to be seen.
And I think you're mistaken. I don't think it's a small battle. I think it's a huge battle. I don't think you're fighting the Palestinians. I think you're fighting the Iranians, the Iraqis, the Syrians, and I think this goes way beyond just Israel against the Palestinian refugees. I think this is a much larger issue.
I do too, that's what I'm saying.
It is.
Right now, we have to.
And you're fighting it for us.
If terrorism can win out in Israel, and right now, if we don't finish, I don't think any Israeli soldier, I can't say any, 99.9% of the Israeli soldiers risk their lives rather than hurt citizens, civilians. They could have done this much faster if they just swept through. The fact that they're going through houses and telling the children to wait in the room while they, can you imagine if it was the other way, where our women and children would be, let alone the men. We're different, and we're suffering casualties because of it, in spite of it.
Maybe it's
And
time
that's
they
tough also.
change the policy then, maybe they
Well,
just.
we resist changing
Maybe
the
they should
policy, but I don't really know the ins and outs of the policy. I only know from my own children.
I can tell you that the US government would have handled it a lot differently.
I'm sure they already
We'd
did.
go in and just wipe everything out.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I mean, we didn't wipe out Saddam Hussein, Saddam when we had the Gulf War, we stopped at the door, we walked away. And I
Yeah,
don't
but
think it's
Bush-
true to say-
Bush
True, but
isn't
we-
sitting
but
down
we-
to talk with Osama bin Laden.
America is a very big pussy in many
But
ways.
Yes.
we bombed them when they were running.
Oh, sorry,
and-
let's not
and-
go into this, I guess.
I honestly believe that if a group of individuals was going around the US blowing up families, that the US government would just take them all out. But there wouldn't be any negotiation. Our policy isn't to negotiate with terrorists. We would simply go in and wipe them out. It would be the end, especially if we could isolate them to a certain area.
Michael, there are so many pundits with so many ideas and so many things.
You know, another phase of this horrible tragedy, and you say, what will be? I don't know what will be, because the year after the Oslo Agreement, which I thought was, I mean, not only I was among the people who thought it was a terrible, terrible, disastrous kind of agreement. But nevertheless, the year after, they have, every year, the Ministry of Education has a theme for the year for all the schools to teach all kinds of projects and around this theme. So the year after the Oslo Agreement, the theme was peace, right? And everything, they did projects and plays and all kinds of crafts and everything around the peace. But the tragedy is that the Palestinian children have been fed hatred for Israel and for Jews since the day that they were able to control their own schools, and summer camps with 3-year-olds with Uzis and 5-year-olds with guns, And you've seen the marches, now they have marches with children, with these explosive belts. And, I mean, forget even the fact that there are school books, Israel doesn't exist. And now a generation of 10 years of children and young people have been raised on this. So what's gonna happen even if it's gonna take another 2 generations till that goes past? I don't know. But that's it, that's the reality, that's what we have. The first thing you do is try to survive. That's it. We'll see what the next chapter is. It's very sad.
Well, what do you-
Historical mistakes have been made before. You read about them in the books.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, it's not class.
Well, how come the Palestinians are in Israel? Is that part of where they live? Or they're trespassing?
It's part of where they live. Well, some of them, a lot of them live there. They have lived there.
But I don't think they belong there. They should go back where they came from.
Well, that's another issue.
Because they're not from Israel, you know.
If they live in these areas and they live in areas where they were living before the Arabs attacked Israel. She walked. We walked, I don't know what, 1.5 miles, it was flat. When you walk from my house to the neighbor, it's uphill. Everything's on hills because all of the settlements in Yehuda and Shomron are on hills. Because those are the Shomron hills and they overlook the plains that go to the sea.
And those are the safety places to build.
Yeah.
You
That's
take the
where
high ground.
they were strategically
Of course,
important.
you take the high ground.
And sometimes I feel like saying when people, I mean, can you imagine now, I mean, I could see from my street, I could see up to the sea on a clear day. I can see Tel Aviv, I can see from Netanya to Ashdod, where Ziv lives in Drom Har Hebron, he can see from Aza up to Ashdod. Now, one could only imagine if our enemies could do what they would do if they could have
Today's
could have
missiles on those
hills.
hills.
Forget missiles. You
Today's
could see
missiles
it.
on those hills.
You could see it with a sharpshooting gun. They're there for strategic reasons, and I say, I mean, of course, it's obvious there's Israelis who also think we should get out. And I say we shouldn't agree to get out. We should threaten to get out. We should all pick ourselves up and get out. And let them see how they like living in Tel Aviv, in Ramat HaSharon, in, I can't say Netanya now, because Netanya's got its own problems, right? But Netanya, right, you can see it from us.
Well, Haifa's
If you
having
give it
its
to people
problems,
who
too.
are after, well, what I'm saying
For
is
Lebanon, they're having problems.
that the Yeshuvim are all placed for strategic reasons.
Absolutely.
If we would have gotten out of there, I mean, we're a protective barrier. If our government will make us get out, I guess we'll get out. But I don't know why, what reason any reasonable thinking person could think that would be better for the rest of the country if the hilltops were controlled by the kind of people with whom we're dealing in this generation. I don't know, but I don't,
Where are you gonna go if
all I
they-
do is vote and go to demonstrations
You'll send your
and
sons
write
out to the
letters.
army.
I don't send my sons out. My sons are out there
I
because
understand.
they're protecting their families, and believe me, it's no picnic. It is no picnic. They don't like it. They have to do it. They're sad about it, but they'll do it. What are they gonna do?
I was in Israel when Gabi's wife, what's the name of the guy?
Rotten.
Rotten was, I put he had a bulletproof vest and he put it on me.
Let's start this way. Bulletproof vest costs $1,000.
It was about 65 pounds.
So
And
you
the-
buy one, because you can't
Jacket.
afford to buy one for
But
everybody.
let me just tell you the point that made the
And she
impression
was
on me.
Asian.
She was 8 months pregnant and she was wearing a 65, 70 pound
This is flak jacket.
and walking around.
Not a
and
flak
rotating.
jacket, it's
I
not.
put it on too, it's heavy as hell.
Well, but just realize this woman is 8 months pregnant, walking around with 60, 70 pounds of steel strapped to her body.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He wears it when he goes to work now. When they go together, the
Saudi
driver wears it.
Arabia,
So that if
Afghanistan.
something
Tough job,
happens,
8 months pregnant.
hopefully they can get to safety.
It's not a flak jacket with the
Well, it's heavy, whatever, let me tell you. I
flak
cannot-
jacket's heavy.
And we go to work.
It's for bomb fragments and things.
We do a little
not
less,
just for
we do
bullets.
less than we did when Nina made a bar mitzvah. She had to arrange for people to come in a bulletproof
65 pounds.
vest.
That's a flag.
Or she could have not had the bar mitzvah in her home,
She doesn't wear it.
but
She
she
doesn't walk
wanted to have
around
it
it.
in her home. That's
She said she
living.
did.
she sits in the car,
So we
And
did.
she puts it on.
and he puts it on,
And some
her,
of
and
them
then she has a
didn't
friend
come on
at
the
school
bus,
takes
and
it
some
off
of
of
them
her.
took their chances, and that's what you do. Thank God.
Who has a
nothing
friend at
happened.
school that takes it on?
Relative.
Other people weren't so lucky.
When she gets to school, she takes it on.
Sure, well, if she gets out of
You
it.
keep it in the car.
What are you gonna do?
She doesn't walk around with it, she can't walk around with it, she sits in the car, and then Gabi puts it on her. When she's sitting down in the car, he puts it on her, she dresses.
Still, that's
How old is she?
75 to 70 pounds of
Gabi
pressure
wears
on
it
her
now
fucking-
that if she doesn't go out of the issue, if Gabi takes it, he has a ride to work. They have a, what do they call it, you know, a car, the bus from the company picks him up. So he takes it because she's not using it, so he takes it, so he wears it. Maybe it'll help. Gabi's friend, Ziv's friend Avi Sabag, Erev Pesach, was shot. He was wearing a helmet, he was wearing one, and he got shot in the neck. You can only, you try, you maneuver within the limits of reason, of living a reasonable life. You do a lot of praying. You pray for the wisdom of your leaders. You pray for God's help. And we're planting, and we're growing, and we're having children, and we're getting married, and we're building the country, and in between. And you know something? The other side had only to gain by being at peace with us. Only to gain.
If they had the
It's a
brains,
tragedy.
but they don't have the brains.
I don't know what
It's
it
not
is.
the
I don't know what it is.
Some people is right.
I don't think it's the Palestinian. I don't think it's the Palestinian people. I think it's the politics of the Iranians and the Iraqis and the Syrians. I think they're forcing the issue.
They are now.
Well, the moderate Palestinians get killed.
Iraq.
Iran's now threatening too.
Anyway.
Now, tell us about Los Angeles.
Los Angeles?
Nothing going on here.
Nothing happening, it's great, it's real quiet.
Terrible things happening here. Gas went up.
Yeah, gas went up, we're, daylight savings time, it's really messing us all up.
He likes tough.
That's the tragedy
Never mind,
nowadays,
it's
tragedy
funny
nowadays,
happening.
daylight savings time.
Mom, what's happening, Mom?
Read the papers, you'll see.
Like what?
I see a lot of people that, I know a lot of people.
Yeah, what's his name? Magic Johnson's gonna run for
Maurice
mayor.
Yeah, Magic,
Yeah.
Magic Johnson's running
I
for mayor.
can't hear Shirley.
He's what?
Yes?
Running for mayor.
On Reeves Drive
Yes.
last Friday night, what happened?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, three
You don't
guys
know?
were
No.
really,
We're bugged.
I don't either.
one very,
What's that?
very badly.
Where is this?
Friday night.
Okay.
On Cascio and Reeves.
With the
Michelle says hi.
Hi.
Ricky.
Yeah.
How come you're not here?
They're in the
What?
hospital.
Was this a racial attack or was it just a money
How
attack?
old were these
Oh,
guys who got
racial
attacked?
attack.
How old were these guys who got attacked?
Kyle, and today I was.
Today, I
to
just heard
Jesse's.
that too.
Were these older men or were they?
I
young
drove
men?
to Jesse's and on the corner there was an ABC news truck and they were interviewing people and the mayor at the, not the mayor, maybe it was the mayor, I don't know. Maybe it was Rabbi Cooper at the memorial service at the museum when I went. He said that he just came from that interview, which I had driven by. And I stopped there and some lady was standing in the street and I said, what's going on? Because I thought something happened just now. And she said, no, she's telling about what happened Friday night. She saw it from her window.
Well, there,
People
I
got
just heard
mugged.
today that there were two
Two
boys.
yeshiva
Okay,
boys.
so that was Friday. That's
17.
what I heard today.
What happened on Friday?
Got mugged.
But I
Yeah,
didn't
by
know
some
that
skin.
it was.
What happened?
By some
They got
skin.
No, they
attacked
got
by skin.
beaten up by
What happened on Friday?
two high school boys from Eula got beaten up by
They
skin.
were in
Okay,
Okay, I heard about that.
And
just
for
heard that
to
today.
come from
I didn't know that.
Friday night,
Then they said
3
today,
men were killed on,
Wow.
right here on Whitworth Boulevard.
That was a long time ago.
From
I could
West
start
Jamaica.
pulling out
It
the,
must
remember
have
the
been a
old
long time
decals
ago.
we won well
When you were a little girl and you were traveling from Russia to France to go to America,
She's gotta go.
did you suffer from anti-Semitism
Is that me?
there? Did you
They
remember
put that on
that?
their car,
Too
their cars
young
get
to
going.
know
Hello?
what that, I know we were always,
How are
tonight
you?
they're coming, tonight they're coming. and
Everybody
we
is
all
here.
got into the
Well, that was in Russia or on the way?
So you wanna come here?
No, but on the way we stopped places.
I don't know how many.
Look, I can
people-
tell
Stopped
you,
places. I have no idea.
Shirley's
We used
here.
to- They used to have houses for
Yeah,
people
well,
that, you know, for
Refugees.
the homeless, the.
What do they call that?
Homeless.
What does that mean, homeless?
Refugees. You
No,
know,
homeless
homeless
are
are
the refugees.
Yeah.
So when you had the feeling that they were coming, was that before you were traveling or while you were traveling?
I've traveled for many years, I know. All I know is that in certain places they had little houses, you know what I mean, for refuge.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it started to rain.
Did you travel by train or by foot or what?
by line, in a line.
You
but
walked from Russia to France?
I don't know.
No,
Skinhead season.
They took trains. They took.
No, we took, the only time I remember going with a train is we were on the way to America. Only on the way to America.
By train, you went by boat to America.
When we were ready to go to there,
I mean, the last
we went to
section.
Paris.
Is that where Uncle Louis found that child in the?
No, but you were on trains because George, you almost missed the train that you were on. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
I know.
What happened?
Tell them the story.
That's the story that we missed. If the trains were like this,
No, the video.
they were together. One was going this way,
Yeah.
and one was going that way. Understand? But they were hooked together. And they were just starting, it was morning, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother took the children, walked up, I always held Sammy's hand, and I tried to help her. So I went on the other train. And my mother is bending down to see me and Sammy, and I'm riding already, and I want to go out, and a man walked over and put his hand like this, and held me back the whole time. They wouldn't stop. That man that the others were in stopped the thing. But they didn't let us off, because once they start, they don't stop. But the man held us, and we ran by the footstool and my mother ran the whole 2 blocks.
Your mother?
My mother ran to take me off those trains.
Oh
2
my
blocks.
God.
That's one of the incidents, that's all. That's not
But what was happening with the police and with Uncle Louis, and they found a baby or something?
Uncle Louis was walking with a bunch of boys.
Do you know where this was, Ma? In Russia? On the way?
Not the slightest.
Where?
Not the slightest.
I thought it was already in France.
No, not when we were on the way. All I remember is a lot of things.
Tell the story about when you were in the hospital and they told your mother.
Fagel.
Yeah, tell that story.
Gigi got flowers on her.
No, I'm the only one that knows it.
don't know it.
And mommy.
Everybody doesn't know it.
I don't,
You know it.
I don't know it.
Everybody else? What do you
Thank
We
you.
wants to come to America.
3 times he sent tickets?
He was in America, my father.
Yeah, so why 3 times did he send tickets?
Because the first time Louis had a disease that's very catchy. And the second time, I don't know, or the third time, one of the times, I was in the hospital with pneumonia. And you know, they have no medications there.
Antibiotic.
An antibiotic. And I had a lump of cough, and I couldn't even cough anymore. And my mother came very happily to the hospital to take me home. She didn't know.
How old were you, Ma?
I have the slightest idea.
It must have been about 9 or 10, no?
It was almost, yeah, because we came here at 10 years old. So my mother's talking to the doctor, and it was as far as like he is sitting there in my bed. He says, no, you can't take her home. She'll die on the way, because there was nothing to relieve me. So she says, I have to take home. This is the time I got my shift card, the cards.
The tickets.
The tickets. And he says, you can't. And while they're talking, I gave a cough, and everything came out.
And you felt better? And you could breathe?
Well,
But did they tell your mother to leave the child here? She's not gonna make it? Tell that part of it.
he says, you want to go to America, take your 5 children and go and leave her. She'll never make it if you take her.
The doctor told her, your
The
mother that.
doctor.
Right.
And my mother started saying, I must, and she was gonna take me, she wasn't. Go ahead, keep writing.
My hand's getting tired.
Anyways.
Okay, so
Take your hand out.
So what was the phrase that he said something?
He says that,
Take a hand.
then when I gave her off, he yelled at, she says, he started to run. And he said to me, Fagel, het is gewollt weg fleeën.
Translate it, Ma.
My name,
Birdie,
my
you wanna
name
fly
is
away?
Fagel. My name is Zora Fagel.
Come to me.
So
So,
fake.
but he used to call me Fagel. Fagel means a bird.
Bird, you wanna fly away?
Birdie, you want to fly away? You wanted to fly away. Because I saw my mother smiling because he went like this to her. I don't know whether it was the same day I went home, but thank God
But look, Ma, look. if
Let me
you-
ask you a question. Where was Aunt Ethel through all of this?
Ethel
Ethel.
was minding her own business.
Probably dancing.
Don't you remember her as a big sister?
Yes, she used to dance, remember?
No, what, she
With
said,
that red-
if you
Susie,
remember
remember that red
about,
outfit she had?
hold it.
Nothing about Ethel, but I can
Do you remember about Miriam?
Does Ethel remember anything?
All right, tell us about Miriam.
Oh, Miriam.
Tell us about Miriam.
She's the one who
Once-
fainted, right?
once
She
was a-
fainted?
Yes,
Yeah.
and she always faints. Who said it?
Evie.
She fainted at my father's funeral.
Oh, yeah.
She's a fainter, we didn't know that. Must have been very little because the two soldiers walked in, they were my father's. You want a story, you keep fighting, I'm gonna tear everything up.
This is for Nina, Grandma.
This is for
On
Nina.
request
Stop.
for Nina.
All right, Mom, you.
Two soldiers walked in. There must
I
have
can't
been
hear you.
Two soldiers.
Quiet.
We were all in one room and my brothers were sleeping like this in the bed, the three of them. There were two beds in the room.
Was this in your hometown or on the way already?
On the way, one of those huts they gave me. So the boys were sleeping this way, and Miriam, they were all this way, and Miriam sat in the middle of
Like on the edge of the bed?
the end of the bed. And they said jokes or something, and Miriam said, everybody started to laugh. But one of the soldiers, my mother, they picked me off my mother's lap. I
You were so
remember.
cute.
I don't know, I was little. And he looked like he was 9 feet tall at least. He looked so big. And they said a joke and everybody started to laugh. And she hit this spot of something. And she laughed and she lay down on their feet. And they kept on pushing her and going crazy.
Who kept pushing her going crazy?
The boys.
Mother, I understand that your lives were saved by some soldiers on different occasions. And I heard it was the Germans who actually saved you. Is that true?
That's Miriam, yes. That's the story of Miriam.
Right. So tell that story,
So
darling.
That's the story.
I'll show you how many stories I know.
That's the story of Miriam. All the other stories.
Well, finish up the first story. You were just telling us what.
Miriam has
she
four
found out the boys
stories.
were-
It's kind of big. When we walked into the armory, whatever you call it, there was a big table for, not a table, a desk where they give the beer and everything. And when they saw us walk in, somebody grabbed Miriam. She was the only one that looked like a human being. She was 17 years old. Everybody else was
Like a woman, you mean?
Yeah. One to, So a Russian soldier grabbed Miriam, and a German soldier jumped over that thing, and there was a terrible fight, and they saved Miriam.
But the irony is marvelous that a German soldier
That's,
saved you. The irony is marvelous.
we know, because everybody was in shock, because there was a fist fight between them.
But you had seen bad things before, hadn't you?
What thing?
Pogroms, I don't know.
Did you have any pogroms in the village where you came from?
I remember
What's the name of the place you came from? Horodish. And that was in what part of Russia? What part of Russia?
I don't know.
That was in White Russia.
Hello?
That was in White Russia.
Near Mir, right?
Near Mir. That's
And you
right.
want to hear something funny? We have a neighbor whose family comes from Horodish, and they have a little book, somebody, a family member wrote about the town. And he has I should have brought it. He has like a map of the town, and he has a map of the area there. It's an American man who wrote it, a relative.
Why don't you get Gabi to scan it and email it to me?
Okay, I could. And on the map, I was looking at the towns around Horodish, and believe it or not, there's a town called Dolginov. How do you like that?
Do you know one of the biggest executives in Hollywood? His name is Dolgin, D-O-L-G-I-N.
Really?
One of the biggest executives in Hollywood.
It's not from our side. And Sally, what about when you didn't recognize your father?
Oh. When my father came, when we were in Ellis Island.
When you came from the boat?
Yeah, with 6 children and a wife coming. So my father grabbed my mother, and he was holding Miriam and Louis. He knew them, understand? They were older. He left me when I was 18 months old. Remember, that's the part of it. And my uncle,
Mayor.
Mayor,
Yeah.
He's a tall man.
Good-looking
And I
guy.
always pictured my father to be very tall. Because when I was a baby, a little girl, I used to envy any child that held a father's hand. You know? I was really envious. Because there's that. Anyways, that thing is shining.
Never mind, I just ignore
He
it.
picked me up and he held an orange.
Yeah.
And he says, "Das is a pomerantz."
Uncle Mayor did.
Yeah. And I loved him the minute I saw him. He was the image of my mother.
That was your mother's brother.
I don't know about brothers
Well,
and
I'm telling
sisters.
you, yeah. It was your
That
mother's
was the
brother.
image, just like my mother. Naturally, I felt so wonderful. My dream has come true. And my mother walks over with a man that has a little mustard,
Beard.
a little beard.
He had a goatee.
I got it. And he looked so different from my own. Oh my God. And my mother walks over. Saralee, das ist dein Tate. Das ist mein Tate. And I kissed him. I kissed him. And I actually was so disappointed. You have no idea. I couldn't meet that thing from years later.
Well, actually, you look more like the Murskys
You
than
do,
you do
of
the
course.
Gorodeisky's.
So does your hair.
And so do I.
Once you told me a story, something, that, about your father, you were sitting like this or something. What was that? I forgot it.
That's where the soldiers were when Miriam coming.
Okay, do you see this right here?
Yeah.
That's Mursky hair.
They took care of this. You know, the funny part of it is that one of the soldiers came into Mama's store. That's already in Los Angeles.
In New York,
New
in
York.
Bronx,
Yeah. So
in
I
the
was-
Bronx.
Yeah.
Listen, on Boston Road.
What kind of store?
Jewish
They had a
bookstore.
bookstore.
It was a Jewish forum store.
So they
Yeah.
came.
Sarah and
walked
Georgia
in,
had their office
my mother-
there.
Right.
Saralee, look who's here. And I look at him, man. He was a nice sized person, but I didn't realize. I said, Mama, don't be funny. Then I say, hey, and he was so tall. That's an ounce.
Hi, Malcolm.
Lettering.
I didn't see you. Come here, Malcolm, sit here.
So,
Can I see Auntie Marissa? Who's that?
You're not gonna get one.
Who's that?
and Sally, what does that have to do with when you were sitting, when your father left after?
Yes,
Your
yes.
husband's looking for you.
Anyways,
Myrtle.
I was giving him lunch one day, and I'm sitting like that. He was very able, my father, a gentleman, modest and able. And I was sitting like this in the kitchen, and I was giving, and he said, all of a sudden, he picked out something, or stopped drinking or something, and I see tears in his eyes, he's crying. I says, Papa, what's the matter? Tu has given 18 months old when I went to America. And I saw him when I was 10 years
And
old.
he was in the same, she was in the
That
same
was the-
position.
18, I was.
You were
he
sitting
was
like that when
crying,
he
said,
left, so you
"Du
recognized
hast-
all
Du
of
hast
it.
gesessen als sie by the table of a dish when I went away. That's when I left.
How many years was he gone
7
till you?
7 minutes.
I must have been 3-4 years that I started to remember everything, you know.
The war had just broken out.
Well,
so
how
it was
long
1980.
after they came were you born?
1921, October.
Almost 22.
We know that.
What? What did you say? How long after they came were you born?
Late 1921.
And when did you land here, Ma?
19
Did Susie just go
And
inside?
when did you land in Ellis Island?
Where'd she go?
1921.
No, she was not born in 1921 if
She
you
was
came.
born in October.
In 1920.
You came in 1920.
She was born 9 months away.
Well, okay, I buy that, but I didn't.
And her
Knowing
mother,
Grandma,
never lived it down.
let me explain something. Knowing Grandma, it couldn't go the other way. Let me tell you.
What is that?
Oh,
Where is what?
I'll tell you. What? want you to talk.
Uh-oh.
I'm listening to what
No, because we're talking about Israel. We were talking about all about.
You know what she asked?
Wait, Arlie, there's
Where is
another,
Loretta?
Grandma, tell us also about how, was it Uncle Georgie, or they got stuck on the boat at Ellis Island?
Oh, that's
They wouldn't let them in?
That was Sammy.
Well, tell us.
Stop.
Hey, you have
to picture.
Ma, what do you care? What do you care?
No, mine.
As long as she never shows it in your presence.
Huh?
As long as she never shows it in your presence.
What happened with Sammy? I understand there was a problem when Sammy was trying to get off the boat. Please tell me about that problem.
You know, in Ellis Island, and you go this way and you go that way. We all went one way when it came to Sammy. We went this way, because he had the measles.
What happened?
He had the measles. It was coming out on him something. They may have seen a little something. He couldn't get through, so they find out what it is. And they took him away for the boat.
He must have been totally traumatized.
To this day, not only totally, but to this day.
Not only totally, but to this
He
day.
didn't know the language. He probably never saw, bet there were some Negroes there, he probably never saw a
It's not a
Negro.
guess, it's a Negro that took him by the hand.
I can't hear you, what?
It was the Negro who took him by the hand and took him
And he
away.
never saw a
And
Negro
he went on
before.
the boat. No, we never.
And so what happened when that happened?
He was away for, we went and he went elsewhere.
And he was alone,
Alone and we were all together.
and he was what? He was frightened?
He was frightened, he told him he's gonna, if he cries or says something else, I'll throw you over with the boat.
And what was Grandma doing meanwhile?
Crying.
All right, do you remember?
We were all hysterical, that's all I could tell you.
And so what
And me,
happened?
and me, wasn't for one day that I was hysterical. He was everything. He was like this one to her, you know? Amberly. And, but I do know that I helped my mother. My mother once said, "Save the andere Kinder seien gut." You know, so I used to looking back if Ethel and Georgie were here, and said, you know.
So you've been a caretaker most of your life, have you?
Most of my life, and the dishwasher.
And you cleaned the chickens.
And the dishwasher.
Right, you cleaned the chickens
The
when the people used to
dishwasher, and when I yelled, "Shirley, come and help me," my father used to say, "Sie legt Harold slaffen. Ich will dir helfen."
Yeah, we
Oh, we know that pattern.
we lived with them when I was very young.
She's putting
You always-
Hesh to sleep.
So he always took you apart.
Well, he knew for sure this was a soda.
No, you know what happened? I hate even to say this, but it's the truth. It didn't happen once or twice, it's happened. Meisha, stop, is dein Kind.
About who, Sammy?
Sammy was born just when,
After he left?
after he left.
So Grandma kept
We're 18
reminding.
months apart, all of us.
Wow. Wow. He could not suspect her.
Not, well, he was.
Did accept him. My mother,
Accept her myself.
but my mother started to holler on him or whatever, my father, she says, Meisha, stop, is dein Kind.
Well, one look
And
at,
this is confirmed by stories the ladies tell me that my mother tells them, that Grandpa was very jealous of Grandma.
I
why?
can't,
Well, let's go on with that. Why?
Very suspicious.
Why?
I don't know why. That she was very beautiful, and he was very suspicious.
You mean that Sammy?
but this had nothing to do,
And that's the story that, as it comes to me, hearsay.
Maybe that's why he never
So,
took her
but
to the
it
shop.
confirms what, Aunt Sally just said.
but that was not even in my, the only reason she said that is to convince him that it's this child, because he didn't know it was child.
I know, but that
I
he
was
should even
lost.
thank you.
One look at Sammy's face with those eyes. They're my grandfather's eyes. There's nobody else's eyes in the world. They're exactly Grandpa's eyes.
Oh, and Sally, now that we're with stories, do you have stories of my father?
Your father? Yeah, why don't we tell the story where he went to took a driving lesson for him, and he talked out and he says, well, you failed.
What? You failed or you
He failed for me. No, he failed for me. No, you're not listening to me. He took the test in my name. He failed for me.
Oh my God.
And now you know just to.
And do you know how
That's funny,
do you know how I
that's
got my
funny.
driver's
That's-
license?
How?
Because this woman over here
Yeah.
said I had a bump on the back of my head,
Yes.
and they thought it might be cancer. So they had to go and cut it out. And Shirley, I don't know if you remember, you promised me that after I cut it out, you would give me Shai's car to learn on and get my license.
That's right, Shirley.
Oh my God.
That's the only
Because
reason I
you
went.
had, you needed
Wait.
my say-so. You
Wait.
told me that I was having it and I made him, I don't remember what. I says, maybe better off to do it by you, because maybe they know him. But he would drive things to
Arlie, I want my mother to tell
you.
the
You
story.
did let him drive. You did let him drive.
But she knows things too. I want to know of my dad.
Susie.
Grandma, tell them then. Tell them when you're in the car with the policeman.
Shirley took,
What?
we gave her a tissue box, and she pretended
Oh,
that she
she's
was going to the hospital,
Wait a
and
minute.
she's vomiting in the
She
box.
was,
They don't want the ticket.
she
She was
said,
vomiting in the car.
oh, I'm taking, where was I thinking, she made a wrong turn in the wrong place. So the cops were chasing us, so we made up some, I said, she doesn't feel good. And they helped us.
She gave her a tissue box for the back of
She's
her
a
love.
little
She's
better now.
vomiting.
She's a little better now, but she's better now.
So Shirley, you have no European stories for us.
That's danger.
Are there any stories that you heard that Aunt Sally hasn't told
Oh,
us,
God.
Good question.
that you know?
Tell me, is the story about the tickets on Shabbos, is that a true story?
On Shabbos?
Or did you make it up?
No. Oh, no.
Or the one about the bakery lady?
Mama told me.
What?
No.
Well, tell the story.
Your dad watched it?
I never told
That's
the
okay.
story about that.
I know, but my
Did
mom
you know the story? All I know is she said, let's go out, let's go to the movies.
Who he?
She
Oh,
used
she,
to say, let's
Shirley.
go to the movies, and when we
Right.
got to the movies, she never had money. Somehow,
And so she came to a rich sister who never had a dime.
she never had money with her.
Never?
She happened to be short, it was the end of the day.
Well, Shirley had
what
more
is it you
bobby
were-
pins than
I
anybody in
gotta
the
tell
world.
you a story.
Tell the story.
About
Ollie?
Your mother's story, your mother's story.
my mother's
About the
story.
bakery lady.
Oh.
Oh.
We were in a hut or in a part of an armory, I don't know. But you had your own little place. It was early in the morning, Saturday in the morning.
Oh, it was a barrack. It was a barrack, actually. Yes.
Saturday
Michael,
morning.
I heard the story.
I never heard that.
Yeah, it was
And
a
the
barrack.
kids were still sleeping and you were up. And at that time, people had tickets to get bread,
For rationing.
rationing, whatever it was.
Ration tickets.
Tickets to get bread?
Ration.
Oh, okay,
You
okay.
had to
I
write
got
a
it.
line
I got it.
out to do. But it was Shabbos, and my mother couldn't carry the tickets. So she went, but she went anyway, and they said, no ticket, no washi.
So you didn't get bread?
And she didn't get bread. So she came back to her place near where the children were sleeping, you know, on the inside. She was sitting on the outside. You don't remember? No, you don't know. And she was davening, or she was crying. I don't know what she was doing. She didn't want to go in. She didn't want the children to wake up because they would be hungry and there was no bread. And all of a sudden, a man comes over with two big breads, 3 big breads. This is yours. So she stared at him. He says, don't talk, this is for you. End of story.
That's it?
That was
He
it.
gave it
This
to
is
me.
We
miracle.
saw that she did
God
have bread.
took over the job of getting the bread for
I
her.
want to tell you something.
Do you know that you once, and Uncle Louie once told me that Bubby used to give Aunt Ethel her piece of bread.
Everything, yes. I just ate, she said. When she
Ouch.
came in with something, so we said it, I don't know, I didn't say it, but Miriam had something. She made it in 6 all the time. But the bigger piece was Ethel's. Ethel must have been suffering, you know, she had a drums something.
She had ears, yeah.
She was sick, Ethel. So the one that was sickest the best. I want to tell you this, I mean, what do you, like tufts, what are tufts? People, you see their head and you see your back.
The tuft, right, yeah.
My mother walked in one day, she gave me used to go out 6, 7, as soon as I had like to look for something to eat. She comes home and Sammy and I were sitting.
Like a dreidel, what, a top like a dreidel?
Yeah, and Sammy and I were going like this. We were
Avi.
from hunger. We both got swollen.
Oh, swollen, oh, you look like tops,
Yes,
you were swollen.
She said, well, you were round. He said it because I saw those things in the movie. She was telling that to somebody else. That's how I know it.
Mother, what was your grandparents? Do you remember your grandparents?
Nothing.
Do you?
She had a ride.
Aunt Ethel remembers when she told me she went on the wagon.
Yeah, but you don't remember your grandparents, what they did for a living, who they were?
Never, nothing. I came just when we were walking from the war already.
All right. Shirley, you never heard a story about your grandparents?
Well, some of them lived in America, somebody lived in
Wasn't somebody blind?
Yeah, that was.
That was the grandmother that I was named after, the great-grandmother.
Yeah, my father's grandmother was also blind. But did you hear any stories about your grandparents, either on the Mirsky side or the other side, the Gorodeisky?
I remember the Bubba.
You remember the Bubba?
She lived in a person.
Yeah, she was blind?
She was blind and she was beginning to be very senile.
Right.
But at age 94 she lived.
Oh, at least.
And do you remember, did you meet her husband? Do you remember her?
No. She was blind from the age of 27.
Yes, but what happened to her husband?
The husband died very, very early in life. As soon as they finished their 4 children, he died.
What side was this, the Gorodeisky or the Mirsky?
So was she a blind?
Wait. This is what side, the Gorodeisky or the Mirsky?
Gorodeisky.
Was your grandmother you know?
The blind grandmother, the Bubba, the blind.
That was your father's, that's a Gorodeisky. Do you know anything about the Mirsky grandparents?
They had a dairy.
And where did they have it?
New Jersey.
No.
Jamaica.
No, I'm talking about Europe.
In Europe. They had a wagon and they were in the dairy business.
All right, they did Tevye the milkman. Is that who they were?
That kind, I guess.
Maybe that's why Aunt Ethel remembers, and she told me once that she remembers going on her grandfather's wagon.
Did you ever go on your grandfather's wagon in Europe? Did you ever ride on Grandpa's wagon in Europe?
That's the only thing
No, you don't remember.
Ethel.
She didn't, I don't know if she heard you actually.
She heard her.
Do you remember riding on a wagon?
Grandpa,
Your grandfather.
To me.
Your
Thank you.
grandfather?
She doesn't remember. She doesn't